just let us know. Are we muted? Cassie, do you want to just let us know when we ought to get started here?
Yeah, I'd say you can see it's one after, so you can go ahead and get started.
Okay. I'll just give some quick introductory remarks. So, hi everyone. My name is John Moose. I am a senior consultant here at Energy Strategies. Energy Strategies is a Salt Lake City-based consulting firm. We have clients in the utility, developer, nonprofit sector. This summer, we have partnered with GridLab, which has been one of our clients for the last 5 years, to host a summer internship program. We have 2 interns with GridLab, one of whom today is Farzan. He's been working with our team in the transmission planning and energy markets group here at Energy Strategies. And specifically, he got a special opportunity to perform a beta test of a emerging software in development, in-house software of one of our other clients, Avista Utilities. And so his summer project has been to explore and beta test that software and showcase some of his findings as a result of his investigations. So I want to thank Farzan for all of his hard work. And without further ado, we'll introduce Farzan, and then we'll have Q&A at the end.
Yeah, thank you, John, for the introduction. And hello, everyone. It's my pleasure to present today about utility operations with Avista Decision Support System, ADSS. So first, I start with talking a little bit on the internship program that I attended this summer. So as John mentioned, it's a joint internship with GridLab and Energy Strategies. It started in May and it will conclude next week. The primary goals of this internship was first to beta test the Avista Decision Support System production cost model, ADSS, and also I was fortunate to support the team on other ongoing client projects. So the goals of the presentation today is first to introduce the capabilities of ADSS for utility operational planning, and also to share some insights that I gained from the beta testing. You can see the agenda of the presentation here. First, I will talk a little bit on Avista Utilities, their resource mix, and also I will talk about the Avista Decision Support System. Then I will go over an overview of the ADSS demo system that I use. So demo system is just a small system that I use for just beta testing purposes, much smaller than the real ADSS that the utility is using. And then I will show you some sensitivity analysis with the goal of exploring ADSS functionality and how it responds to different changes to the system. And then I will conclude my presentation with sharing the takeaways of the sensitivity analysis and also to share the experiences that I gained from working with ADSS. So as you can see here, Avista operates across the full energy value chain, including production, transmission, and distribution. And it serves approximately more than 400,000 electricity customers and also about 380,000 natural gas customers. And its service territory spans 4 states in northwestern United States, as you can see here in the map. And here in the lower figure, you can see the Avista Utilities resource mix. You can see that about 50% of the resources is hydro, 37% cascading hydro, and the rest other hydro. Then it's about 30% of the resources is thermal units, and we have 10% which is wind, and 8% coal, and surprisingly, only 1% of the resources is solar. So what is ADSS? ADSS is a commercial scale production cost model that is designed to simulate utility scale generation, dispatch, and market operations. As I mentioned, it was developed by Avista Utilities for enhancing operational planning and also decision-making beyond the simplified assumptions that many models are using. And it captures the physical and operational characteristics of generation units, especially thermal units and also cascading hydro units, which are traditionally more complex to represent. And then about the users, traders and planners are the main users of ADSS, and traders use it for making short-term decisions, and also for optimizing power purchases and sales over the next day or week, for meeting demand and also maximizing revenue. And also planners use ADSS for long-term strategic decisions, for example, for adding one new unit or retiring one unit, or also for scheduling maintenance outages in order to minimize the cost of the maintenance to the overall system. In this slide, you can see the demo system that I used for the beta testing. So it's a very smaller system compared to the real Avista system that has much more elements. So you can see it has 3 main hubs: Northwestern Markets Hub, Legion BAA Hub, and also Big Gas Hub. And I go through all these step by step in this slide. So the Legion Balancing Area Authority Hub, it has about 750 megawatt peak load obligation, 650 for a traditional load, including residential, commercial, and industrial, and also about 100 megawatts for data center load. And so the demo system is using 2024 calendar year data only. So these are historical 2024 year data. And then we have a set of generators here, including solar, wind, hydro, biomass, and also batteries. So Legion Hub has a diverse mix of technologies for generation. And you can see we have common assets, solar batteries, and also we have complex assets that complex to represent, such as cascading hydro and also thermal units. So the thermal units is not shown here. The thermal units for demo system is in another hub, which is called Big Gas Hub, and I will talk about it shortly. So in Legion BAA Hub, we also have one hypothetical bilateral utility contract, which is called Flex 1, and it can provide ancillary services and operate between 15 to 65 megawatts instantaneously. So we have Big Gas Hub, and in the Big Gas Hub, we have one big gas thermal unit plant 2x1 combined cycle combustion turbine with the total generation of more than 500 megawatts. And then we have Northwestern Markets Hub, and this is the only place for selling and buying power in the demo system. Then we have transmission lines connecting the 3 hubs, and also we have 2 additional markets, 3 additional markets: wood market, gas market, and also carbon market. And they have also all the transportation infrastructure, such as gas pipelines. All of these are included in the model. Here you can see the illustration of the thermal unit, the big gas thermal unit. So it's a 2x1 combined cycle combustion turbine, and it consists of 2 combustion turbines. You can see each of them has 175 megawatts, and it has also one heat recovery steam generator. So the waste heat goes through the boiler here, and then it goes to the steam turbine with the capacity of 225 megawatts. And also we have supplemental duct firing capability for additional steam generation, and it increases the output of the steam turbine by 50 megawatts. So the total capacity of this big gas thermal plant is 575 megawatts. Then here you can see the illustration of the cascading hydro. So for cascading hydro, we have upper cascade hydro plant intermediate cascade hydro plant and lower cascade hydro plant. So we have one, as you can see from the left to the right, we have one big reservoir there, and then we have the hydro plant one. It has two turbines and also one pump turbine. And then we go to the intermediate reservoirs. We have one intermediate reservoir in the figure, but that one doesn't have any generators. And it's mainly for regulating the flow between the upper cascade and the lower cascade hydro. And then the water goes to the lower cascade hydro. It has three generator turbines. And then at the end, the water goes to the river. So before going to the sensitivity analysis, I just want to explain the scope of the sensitivity analysis and the main goal. So the main goal is to examine different changes across different aspects of the system and to observe how the model responds to these changes that we are making. And we also want to identify any unusual or unexpected behaviors from the model by all these changes that we are making. So for sensitivity analysis, first I start with defining these two scenarios. So in the bottom, you can see the load profile, 2024 weather data that the demo system is using. So we picked two scenarios, one for high load scenario, 2-week high load scenario. As you can see, it's in 8th of January to 21st of January, 2024. And you can see the load profile up there. So it's split into traditional load and data center load. So the data center load is assumed to be almost flat, about 100 megawatts. And you can see the traditional load in blue and also the total load. And then the other scenario is 2-week low load, which is the last 2 weeks of May 2024. And again, you can see the load profiles there. So the total demand for the low load scenario is 126 gigawatt hours. For the high load scenario is around 200 gigawatt hours. And you can see that for the high load scenario, it changes from 350 to around even more than 700 megawatts. But for the low load scenario, it's consistently changing between 200 megawatts to about 350 megawatts. So here you can see the results of the high load scenario. So in the upper left figure, we have the generation shown for different generators, big gas thermal plant, upper cascade, lower cascade, wind, flex one, biomass, lithium battery, and solar. And you can also see the load profile shown in dashed line. And in the upper right figure, we have the total energy generation by each resource. For the high load scenario, it's to more than 250 gigawatt hours. And then we have the lower figure here, which shows the power market net, Northwestern power market net. So this figure, whenever is positive, it means that the demo system is selling power to the market. And when it is negative, it's buying power. And so you can see for this scenario, it's most of the time it's positive. So we expect that the system is making huge revenue out of selling power to the market. And also you can see that the thermal plants are running at almost full capacity for most of the times. And this is the result for the 2-week low load scenario. And so you can see the difference here that the thermal plants are often turned off and the demo system prefers to import power from the market to meet the load. And so this behavior is mainly driven by the prices of the power. And I will show you the prices profile in the next slides. And you can see that the total generation is 140 gigawatt hours, while in the last scenario was more than 250 gigawatt hours. So these were like just the baseline scenarios, but from this slide so on, we are only changing we are only using the 2-week low load scenario and implementing changes and doing some sensitivity analysis. So the first analysis is to analyze the effects of NW power market prices. So in the first study, we doubled the prices. But before that, I should note that the demo system uses only a single historical 2024 stream of data for prices, and it analyzes it in a non-elastic external market.
Can you explain what a non-elastic external market is? Maybe you were about.
Yeah, sure. So we are using just fixed numbers for the prices. So how like higher demand changes these numbers or lower demand changes these numbers, it's not considered, and we are just only using the fixed data as one of the simplifying assumptions here. Yeah. And yeah, you can see how we change the profile. So the purple shows the initial power purchase price values, and then we doubled it, and you can see the new profile in green. So this is the same figure that I showed you for the 2-week low load scenario. The only difference is that I'm also showing the prices in red in the lower figure, and it uses the secondary axis on the right. And so you can see that the behavior of importing and exporting is highly driven by the prices. So whenever the price is high, so the system prefers to sell power, and whenever the prices is low, the system imports power, and the goal is just to maximize the revenue. And when we double the prices, so you see we have the thermal units that are generating more power. And again, the reason is that the system wants more internal generation, and it will just export it and sell it to the market. So we expect to have like a bigger revenue or a bigger system value in this study compared to the baseline scenario. So if I switch back and forth, you can see how the thermal units generation increases. And you can see that the total cell is about 8.5 gigawatt hours, but for the study 1 results, it's more than 70 gigawatt hours. And it's almost showing the same increase in the thermal generation. So this was the first study. Then I go to study 2. So for the study 2, we turn off the big gas thermal 1 unit, one of the combustion cycle turbines with the capacity of 175 megawatts. So it's off now, and we want to see how the model responds to this change. So again, this is the results from study 1, and they are like incremental changes that we are making. And I put the results for the previous study and also the new study and go back and forth to better track the changes. So this is the study 1 results. And then when we make the big gas 1 unit off, you can see that the generation by the thermal units decreases. And you can see the height of the orange color decreases. Oops. In this scenario. And also we have much lower export to Northwestern power markets. And it's because we have like less generation. And then I go to study 3. For study 3, we just increased the solar generation forecast by 4 times. And I can show the profile here. So you can see how the profile changes. The yellow shows the original solar generation profile, and we make it be 4 times bigger. Again, this is the results for study 2. And then after making this change, you see that we have like more solar generation. And if I go back and forth, you can see that we have increase in the power cell at the times that we have like more solar generation. Like if you, for example, look at this portion of the graph, you see that the power cell increases in these solar hours. So also the numbers show that the total net of the power market increases with the same increase in the solar generation. So let's go to study 4. For study 4, we increase the upper and lower cascade hydro reservoir local flows. As I mentioned, for the intermediate reservoir doesn't have any generator, so changing its flow doesn't have any impact on the results. And this is the how the profile changes, the input profiles. So we have lower cascade hydro on the left, so the original profile ranges about 150 CFS, and the new profile shows we make it be fixed at 300 CFS. And again, these are just the input profiles that are only using 2024 calendar year data. And for the upper cascade hydro, it's more variable. So you see it changes, the original profile changes between 6,000 to 11,000 CFS, and the new profile is fixed at 11,000 CFS. Yeah, this is the results from study 3. And so if I go back and forth, you can see that we have like more lower cascade hydro generation, but almost pretty the same upper cascade hydro generation. And other resources also don't show significant changes. And we have like increase in the total net of exports because we have more generation. So we expect to see more revenue in the total system value number. So I will show the objective functions in the next slides. Then the next incremental change is to slow the thermal units startup process by 3 times. So one thing about ADSS is that if you want to make a change, there are a lot of options to make that change. For example, we can just change the startup time of the thermal units. We can change the, there is another parameter for specifically the ramping rate. You can change it. You can change the cycling prices. So there are a lot of ways to make one specific change. And so that's a very good flexibility that ADSS provides. So again, this is study 4. And if we slow down the thermal startup process, you can see we have more generation from the thermal units. But one change that you can see, if you look at, like, for example, this portion, we have like, we don't see these spikes in the thermal units generation because it's slower to start the units. So you see that the generation by the thermal units is smoother by this change. And so, as I mentioned, we see moderate output increase, and we see higher market sales. And I will show you how the objective function changes in the next slides. So if we look at other generators in this study, we see that like the upper cascade hydro increases slightly, but other generators show almost no change. So let's go to study 6.1. And the reason that I'm naming it like this, because 6.1 and 6.2 both are for transmission lines. So they are related. And so for 6.1, here I'm showing that I'm reducing the transmission line capacities for 2 of the lines. Both of the lines go to the Northwestern Power Market Hub, Legion Hub to Northwestern, and Big Gas Hub to Northwestern. And so the max capacity is said to be 50 megawatts in this study. And originally it was more than the total capacity of the generators within each hub. So almost no constraints on the transmissions. But now it's 50 megawatts for both of the lines. So again, this is study 5. And if you look at study 6.1, you see that the cell is limited. The amount of power cell is limited by the capacity of the lines. So we cannot sell more than 100 megawatts. So there are 2 lines, each 50 megawatts. And you can also see how the thermal units generation decreases. So because we cannot sell the power, the thermal units are operating at lower capacity, or one of them is off and only just one of them, another one is operating. And also the other change is the change in the biomass. So by making this change, we see that the model changes the dispatch of the two resources. So we need to decrease the generation, and those two resources that are selected for this decrease are like thermal units and biomass, and both of them are decreasing by 50%. And also the total net of the exports decreases from 50 gigawatt hours to 4 gigawatt hours. And then let's go to study 6.2. And in addition to limiting the two lines that I mentioned in 6.1, we also limit the line capacity from the Northwestern market hub in this study. And that line is also said to be 50 megawatts maximum capacity. And you can see 6.1 here, and by making this change, you see that we are not allowed to buy as many power as we want. And so one change that we see is to have, again, more internal generation, because so this is 6.1, you see the total generation is 134 gigawatt hours. In 6.2 is more than 200 gigawatt hours. It's a significant increase because we need to meet the load and we cannot import power, so we need to use the internal generation at the maximum capacity. And this slide shows the objective functions over the different scenarios. So, this is not the cost function. So these numbers show the system value in dollars. So whenever it's positive, it means that it's making revenue. Whenever it's negative, it means that in order to meet the loads, we need to also pay to meet the loads. The system is not making revenue. So for the baseline, you see it's negative $0.3 million. And this is for the 2-week low load scenario. I'm not showing the 2-week high load scenario here, but just to mention that the objective function for 2-week high load scenario is about $5 million. And if you remember, the thermal units were generating at their maximum capacity, and most of those generations were sold in the power market at high prices. That's why it's making a lot more money. And in study 1, when we double the prices of Northwestern market hub, you see a significant increase in the system value. And that's because the system can sell the extra generation at higher cost at the power market. So the system value increases significantly. When we turn off the big gas 1 unit, the objective function or the system value decreases significantly, obviously because we don't have enough generation to sell it at the power market, so less profit. And in study 3, solar times 4, for the same reason, we have more generation. And we have then study 4, increased hydro flow. We have slightly more generation in this study. And you can see that the increase in the objective function is also very small. Then we have slower thermal start. So in this study, although we have like more generation out of thermal units, but because the system is more constrained, it's not as flexible as study 4 to buy and sell powers. So that's why you see a slight decrease in the objective function for study 5. And then study 6.1, we cannot export power to Northwestern because of the limitation on the capacity lines. So huge drop in the system value. And then for 6.2, again, we see even more drop for the system value. So these numbers are all our objective functions without penalties. And for 6.2, there was a small amount of penalty, but I'm not showing it, mostly because the system is not meeting some portion of the load probably, because it cannot purchase power to meet the load. So I'm reviewing the sensitivity analysis takeaways here. So as you saw, the system responded to the changes by adjusting resource dispatch and also electricity import-export levels. And the greatest absolute dispatch flexibility was exhibited by the thermal units, and its absolute flexibility because it has also higher portion in the resources mix. And again, as I mentioned, the goal is just to maximize the revenue. And the thermal unit dispatch is strongly influenced by external market prices. So whenever the prices are high, we have like more generation out of thermal units. Prices are low, less generation, and again, the same goal, maximizing the revenue. And by these sensitivity studies that I showed you, and also some other studies that we did, we didn't see any surprising or unusual behaviors from the model. So the model were behaving as we expected. And then in the next couple of slides, I will briefly talk about my experiences of working with ADSS. So ADSS offers diverse and user-friendly ways to modify input data. For example, you can manually make edits to the input data, input hourly data, or you can just use the features of ADSS for changing the template sets. For example, you can just specify fixed amount of number for a certain period of time for one input element. And also you can use the input profiles using CSV and import that profile to the. So that's very easy to change the input files, and the ADSS provides flexible ways to doing that. So the second experience is about the output data. So you can download the whole output data in a CSV format. Also, you can just download some parts of the output data to have like a smaller file size. And also, you can also use the ADSS output tab and its visualizations features. That's also very helpful. And then ADSS does 1 hour resolution dispatch calculations with efficient processing times. For the calculations that I did for the 2-week scenarios, it was mainly under 15 minutes processing time, and for 1-week scenarios, it was 2-3 minutes, less than 5 minutes. And also, it's capable of doing parallel computing, so that's also really very efficient for doing a lot of calculations. And so all the calculations that I did were just dispatch models. So the ADSS is capable of doing long-term and medium-term studies, but here I'm just showing the short-term dispatch models results. And so another interesting feature of ADSS is its capability to defining multiple scenarios. For example, you can have like one baseline scenario, and you have scenario 1 that thermal unit 1 is off, scenario 2 like higher prices, scenario 3 like 1 additional unit is added to the system. And when you run the model, it will so by defining like these scenarios in series, first of all, you can see the results and the changes of the results over different scenarios step by step, and then it reduces the computational time significantly. And then the next experience is about the ability to tracking the system value or the objective function. So you have the system value in hourly data format for with penalty and without penalty. And you can track how it changes. And so this like easy way to tracking how the objective function changes is very helpful, because when you track it, you can understand or you can better plan for maintenance of the units. And also for scheduling maintenance, you can just use like more scenarios. And like in one of the scenarios, you have like, for example, big gas 1 thermal units on, and the next scenario is off, and you can assess different time frames for doing that maintenance and track how the objective function changes. So we want the times that lose less money for doing the maintenance. And then the next one is the ability of ADSS for modeling complex systems like plants like cascading hydro and also the thermal plants. So it has like a lot of input parameters for these two specific plants, and the ADSS tries to capture most of the characteristics of these plants. And then we, as you saw in the load profile, we have traditional load, and also we have the data center load. And you can change the profile of the data center load and to track its effects on the output. And that's another benefit of ADSS. The next one is that the software offers extensive flexibility with over 1,000 input parameters. And it is just for the demo system. So for the real system, the number of input parameters significantly higher. And so when you have like all these input parameters, it provides more flexibility for analyzing one change impact to the system. For example, as I mentioned, for thermal units, you can change the cycling by like minimizing the startup cost or maximizing startup cost. You can change the startup time and also the cycling cost. So there are a lot of parameters you can change to reach the same goal. Yeah, just to give you the more accurate numbers for the demo system, we have around 1,500 input elements, about 1,500 output elements, and about 200 calculated elements. And about those calculated elements, it's very useful to know that you can see the mathematical formulas behind those elements, how they are being calculated using the specific tab, calculation review tab in the ADSS. And that was also another interesting point that I think is very helpful. And the last one is about the acronyms. So ADSS uses many acronyms, but I found the support system, the support team very responsive to providing like quick, helpful guidance. And here you can see the team. So I want to acknowledge many people. First of all, I would like to thank GridLab for providing financial support and also for organizing this webinar and all their help. Also, I want to thank Energy Strategies, all the people there, and also John, my advisor for this internship, and also Colby, my co-advisor. And then I would like to thank Avista, and especially Clint and Catherine for their ADSS trainings and also for their helps with all of my questions. So most of the times when I sent emails to Clint, he provided accurate responses within 5 minutes, and that was really good. I want to thank him. And thanks for all of you for attending this webinar. I would be happy to answer your questions.
Thanks, Farzan. We do have a few questions in the chat that I'll just go one by one. You might be able to see them as well, but if not, first one is, does the non-demo system use an elastic external market?
That's a very good question. So, I only work with the demo system, and it uses like fixed profile for the price data. But one interesting point about the ADSS is that you can just populate it with a lot of historical data and like doing a lot of back-to-back scenarios with the goal that capturing all those like uncertainties. So that's one interesting feature that I cached. But yeah, as I mentioned, I just only work with the demo system, not with the, so many of the features of the ADSS, I didn't have access to them.
Okay, a couple others here that are just in the chat. Could you please define the term objective function value and explain how it is calculated?
Yes, sure. So as I mentioned, objective function is not the cost function here. So the way that is defined is to adding up all of the revenues and then all of the revenues minus all of the expenses, for example, for running the thermal units or even like penalties is giving you the objective function. So the bigger objective function means more revenue. So it's like, it's showing the system value, it's not the cost function.
And the objective function in the model, like what it's solving for, is it solving to maximize revenue?
Yes. So it's solving to maximize revenue, and in order to make sure that it is meeting the existing demand, we have some penalty terms. So when we are not meeting the demand, those penalty terms are significant, so minimizing the system value significantly.
Okay, there's one more in the chat, and anybody else who's just on the who's just joining remotely, y'all are welcome to add a question to the Q&A function. But this is the final one for now. Is ADSS available for use on other utility systems?
That's a very good question. So what I learned from working with the demo system is that you have great flexibility to design your own system and run it and run the dispatch model on it. So I can say you can do it and you can change all the constraints. But in terms of like when it gets commercial, I'm not sure it's better to talk with people from Avista. And yeah, but it provides great flexibility for designing different energy systems. Thanks for the question. Yeah.
I had a question. Back on that slide where you had the different revenues, you saw that the base case, right, was losing money. Is that the right idea? And then one of the cases you had turned off a thermal unit.
Yeah.
And then it was all of a sudden making money. And I was curious on that didn't make sense to me.
So
study two,
so the question was about why. So the baseline scenario is losing money, but when we turn off the big gas one plant, we still are making money. So you should see the positive number, and that's a very good question. So for the baseline, as I mentioned, it's a 2-week low load scenario. We need to so the system prefers to shut down the thermal units and import electricity because the prices are lower, and the system prefers to meet the demand by importing electricity. So just to mention that for the 2-week high load scenario, it was positive $5 million because the thermal units are running and the prices are high. When we double this, and these are incremental changes. So for study 2, we have the prices chips doubled compared to baseline.
Oh,
so
I see.
Yeah, for study 1, we have prices doubled. You see significant increase in the revenue. And when we make the big gas one off, we should compare study 2 with study 1. Because the only element that is changing between study 1 and study 2 is just having the big gas one plants being off. But if you compare baseline with study 2, there are 2 elements that are changing. Prices are getting doubled, and also big gas one is getting doubled. Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I guess I was curious. So then the market, right, also has like an unlimited appetite to buy extra generation.
So there are a lot of elements that you can play with to limit the market's capability to buy and sell power. So one of them that I changed was transmission line capacities. You can also play with the loss rates. Yeah, you can like do it with like different ways. I just selected one specific element to make that change.
But I think it's safe to say, like, and maybe confirm this, but seems like, yeah, the model output was highly sensitive to that external market. I think that was one of your one of your
exactly.
slides. So it's like
Yeah.
perfectly optimizing that big gas unit in a lot of these cases to just like push out as much power as it possibly can
It's gonna
at
make
that
so
high
much.
price, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of effectively what we saw, and then we're
Yeah.
looking at changes to that.
Yeah, exactly.
Question just on Avista's motivation for releasing the demo. Were they seeking kind of outsider perspective feedback to potentially improve their tool? Is that kind of the intent of kind of having someone poke around with the demo version?
Yes, I think so. So as I talked with people from Avista, it means I saw that like they are like happy to having us like just beta testing it and providing feedback. And I see that like the model doesn't have any surprising results, so it's already good. It could be like some minor improvements, but as I mentioned, the people from Avista are very supportive in providing answers to all the questions. So yeah, that was great.
Yeah,
Excellent.
it's an in-house software that they use already. And I don't know if someone from Avista is on the call and wants to maybe speak to this after me, but it's an in-house software that they use already. My understanding is that they used it for some of the engagements that we've been a part of, one of which was to support their 2025 IRP. So I believe they're already using, not obviously this model, not the demo system, but they have a separate representation of their real system, both for live analyses. They can do a whole bunch of historical benchmarking. One interesting thing that we learned when talking with Avista is that they've basically connected this model to a large historical database of a whole bunch of those different input parameters. So they can, when they're setting up a simulation, they can say, run it with this parameter from 2024, but let's check what would have happened under this historical event back in, the 2000s sometime. So it's kind of cool the way that they've set it up to be able to run different parameters against actual historical numbers from Avista's, operations and system. So, or just conditions that they've experienced. And I don't know is there anybody on this call from Avista, either Clint or Catherine, that want to speak a little bit about that?
Let's see. I see Clint. I see your raised hand. Oh, here we go. Go ahead, Clint.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to provide a little background on that. I think it is a rather good question, and one might wonder about Avista's motivation. Avista built ADSS because the marketplace had not at the time, and still in our view does not offer a robust power cost modeling solution that really does get down and provide an accurate representation of power supply system operations. There are too many brittle heuristics in many of these tools made to simplify the problem so that they can solve quickly enough. They also have chronically struggled to model optionality in portfolios. And of course, we're hydro-based. So hydro is our original focus. About half of our power is hydro. But as we look forward to the future where we have variable renewable energy resources and we have battery storage, that same inherent optionality that is so amazingly powerful with hydro moves into other storage resources. So that importance, if anything, is magnified today. So back to why then might Avista be interested in sharing it with industry. We have a significant investment in this tool, and I'm not prepared today to talk about that, but I will say it is not a low-cost thing to support it with a development team. And so Avista sees two issues. One is the cost of that continuing support. We would like to find, and we're exploring multiple ways, including concepts of going to market, taking it to a co-op, open source, those types of things. We're very open to that concept, but we'd like to bring the cost to running our utility business using ADSS down. That's our big goal, I think, presently. We also see advantages as we've looked at other commercial off-the-shelf products like ADSS, although it isn't off the shelf in the sense that we're out marketing it today greatly. But one of the advantages of off-the-shelf software is sometimes there are more than one user. So sometimes you have needs for new capabilities, and because you have a larger user base, there may already be that capability built in. Right now, Avista has to identify the need and then build the enhancements because, and I think a good example is centralized energy markets. So Avista is in an EIM, the California ISO EIM markets, but we're not in a centralized day-ahead market today. So we will have to enhance ADSS to do that when we're ready to go into market. So it would be nice if there were some others that maybe could use that ahead of time, and then that feature would then be available when we needed it for our customers. So we're very motivated to move it out into industry. We've done a number of pilots. This demo portfolio or instance was set up to allow folks to be able to come in and just kind of taste, touch, and feel it. But we've done a number of utility portfolio-wide implementations that have been just as successful as what Farzan's done here. So, so hopefully that explains it. Thank you. Happy to answer any other questions folks might have.
For that context.
Thank you.
Questions in the chat if you switch whatever.
Yeah, a couple more questions have come in, but if you can see them,
Can you see them?
Farzan,
sure.
if
Yeah,
not,
so
I can read them out.
Yeah, about the so one question is, could you please define the term objective function value a bit more and explain how it is calculated? I think I answered to this
Yeah,
question.
you answered that one. It's so Sarah Kurt's question, I don't think you have answered yet.
Yeah, so in your analysis, the market price was fixed, but in a real situation, the model choices might change the price. Does the model have the capability to modify the market price? So yeah, so we can change the market price, but in the demo system, it's just a fixed input. So you can just change these fixed numbers in the profile. But as you mentioned, yes, in the real world, so the prices should be elastic, and so the demo system, I couldn't do that, but I'm not sure about the real system, Avista ADSS system. But one interesting thing is that you can just define multiple scenarios and just use like different profiles for prices just to capture like the uncertainties better. But about like having the prices be elastic, no, in the demo system, I was not able to do that. So does Avista use ADSS for capacity planning or evaluating resource adequacy? So for resources build out or like capacity expansion modeling, I know that ADSS can do that, but in the demo system, I only use the dispatch model, the short-term model. But those studies that you mentioned, according to all the files, and as far as I know, yes, it's able to for doing that. And thank you for all your questions.
Any more questions here? Okay. There's no more in the chat. Thank you everyone for your time.